Hi everybody, welcome. It's really nice to see so many faces here tonight in September. We do have quite a robust agenda, even with only 3 items on tonight, but obviously we've got a lot to talk about here tonight with all you folks here. So just a little housekeeping, but we're going to do a little roll call first here with just our committee members, and then I'll give you some housekeeping rules. Thanks.
Vincent Cerrito.
Here.
Nancy Kong, present. Tanya Bates. Lee Berman.
Here.
Solomon Bletcher. Sean Garcia.
Here.
Charlie Golinson. Michelle Coopersmith. Jaja Liao. David Crane. Canal Hernandez.
How are you? I only want to talk about right now.
Hi everybody. So we did our call in here, so our meeting is going. Just so you'll know, this is an in-person meeting only. We don't have any folks hybrid this evening. Where we are located, we just don't have that opportunity, unfortunately, to offer a hybrid meeting here in this location. But since our 2 major items on the agenda tonight are here in this location, we have EDC here tonight with DOT. We appreciate them coming, giving us an update on Chinatown connections. And then after that, we'll go over the Manhattan Bridge ramp, Canal Street, and the interim safety improvements. DOT is going to give a presentation on what improvements they have done right at the foot of the Manhattan Bridge as they enter the neighborhood here. And then after that, we're going to be just talking about our district needs statement as the last item here. So just as we go through this, if you've just walked in and you'd like to speak tonight on any of the agenda items, we have some sign-in sheets here for you to just write down your name and then also what item you wanted to speak to. If you could fill that out, that would be appreciated. If you're just here to listen into, we also have just a sign-in sheet. That's just great to know who's here. We can get on the CB3, email list, all those types of things. So it's really wonderful to sign into. Even if you're here not going to speak, we'd love you to have it sign in. And with that, we have lots of speakers here tonight. And so in order to do that in just the time frame that we have for the space, I'm just going to limit everyone's speaking time to 2 minutes. So we're going to have a timer. Somebody will have their phone. Just try to, and when you're talking, look up, because we'll kind of give you hand signals, like 10 more seconds. We don't want to interrupt you. We'd love for you to just kind of, whatever your speaking points are, try to have them rounded out in 2 minutes, because we don't like to interrupt when someone's speaking. So just for that. And with that, I will turn it over to our friends at EDC and DOT, and appreciate you guys coming here.
Great, they have mics.
Gonna give them.
Thank you, Vincent. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gigi Lee. I'm a vice president at EDC's Government and Community Relations team, and we are here today with DOT to update Community Board 3 on Chinatown connections. We're excited to introduce to you all for the first time our consultant landscape design team that won the RFP, Marvel Architects. They are here today as well. The presentation tonight will be divided into 2 sort of sections. The first section is focused more on DOT and traffic of the intersection of Chatham Square. And then the second piece, which will be led by Marvel, will be talking about, as we are approaching conceptual design, some of the engagement and conversations that have happened throughout the community and in the past 6 months on what is the direction and what are some of the driving concerns around design and the conceptual framework. And then we will be happy to answer any questions. I think just before that, I want to introduce also from EDC 2 members from our capital team who are leading on Chinatown Connections. This is Kathleen.
Hi, everyone.
And that is Sarah. So without further ado, I will pass it over to someone who you know very well from DOT, Casey.
Yeah, hi everyone. Happy to be here today to talk to you about this project. We're very excited about it. I think there's some lights down so that you can see better the screen. Just to run over what we're going to discuss today, we're going to start with a little bit of project overview, which Casey will handle, and then we're going to go through what we have done in terms of community engagement so far. And we're going to show you what we heard translated into a public realm framework and a concept design approach. So it's not a concept design yet, it's just sort of like talking about the approach. And then we'll open up to discussions. Like Gigi mentioned, Marble, we are an interdisciplinary firm, architecture, landscape architecture. I'm here today also joined by another team member, Ishita Gaur. She's a director and she's been working hard and a lot on leading the community engagement efforts and the design for this project. And we have worked all over the city with New York City Parks, with DOT, and many public realm projects. Just to summary of the structure of the team, we are working under the guidance of New York City EDC and with DOT as our sort of prime city agency that will lead this project. And we're working with multiple other city agencies because there's a lot of multiple things happening in this intersection. So New York City Parks, the Department of Cultural Affairs, and New York State Department of State, sorry. And we have a list of sub-consultants, team of engineers, and other community engagement partners, and people that have urban designers that are working with us on this project as well. This slide shows you the boundary of our project, or the extent of the project as we were commissioned by EDC. You see the Kimlau Square, current Kimlau Square in the middle. You see that it also includes the intersections and traffic flow all the way from the beginning of Park Row and St. James Street all the way to Division Street and Bowery, and connection to Bayard Street as well. And I'm going to pass it on now to Casey to talk a little bit more about the traffic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Gorell. I'm with DOT in our public realm unit. And I just want to set do a little bit of table setting for this project. So when the outcome of the DRI process concluded and the 3 projects were awarded, we took an opportunity to take a fresh look at the entire square to really make sure we were spending capital dollars wisely coming out of the state process. And we really want to address some of these existing conditions and issues that we see at the square today. So we just want to highlight that the square has high pedestrian volumes with many long crossings. The pedestrians are frequently crossing in conflict with turning vehicles. The square has complicated vehicular movements which require traffic enforcement agents through most parts of the day. The primary vehicular movements are not direct and require many turns. The square feels very chaotic and is exposed to the traffic noise and congestion. And the square cannot accommodate a large number of events, memorials, and activations that a lot of partners in the area would like to use it for due to its existing size. So these are some of the framework and existing conditions issues that DOT identified. We've heard from the community that these are issues at the square today, and we want to rectify as part of this project. Next slide. I also want to frame, this is from the existing conditions analysis that we presented to this community board earlier in the project. The square today is full of people, and the primary user, 80%, are pedestrians. So that's who's in the square today. So we really want to frame a project that centers people and primarily centers pedestrians. We want to acknowledge that the existing conditions and the existing vehicular flows are complicated. So the primary flows between St. James, Bowery, East Broadway, and Worth are very complex. Today, in the existing conditions, 2/3 of the vehicular movements are turns, and this creates a high number of conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians. Just going over some of the existing operations, we want to quantify who's using the square in the vehicle. 9% of people in the square, driving through the square, are going from St. James north onto Bowery. And the next one, the next two movements are 9 and 7% who are going from East Broadway to Worth in both directions. The next primary movements, 13% and 18%, are from St. James Place onto Worth Street. And the next movements are, this in total, so this represents 46% of vehicular trips in the square today. Out of these 5 movements represent 20% of the actual routes you could take through the square. So a majority of the vehicular traffic are doing these movements, and that's what's really driving some of our design decisions as we look towards a potential reorganization of the square. Next slide. I also want to outline some of our design process as we went through this project. We did, at the outset of the DRI awards, do a fresh look. So we first start with setting the boundaries of what the project are. We are working with existing mapped right-of-ways or public spaces. So we're not able to remove buildings, widen roadways. We have the real estate and the roadway space that we have. So that's what number 1 is. It's outlining the public property versus the private property. Number 2, we then look to connect those direct movements. So that 46% of vehicles who are moving through the square, these are the movements that they're doing. We made them as direct as possible to start. We then acknowledge the existing limitations. The memorial is landmarked, we're not moving it, we have to work around it, so we bend the movements around the memorial. We then look to connect that memorial space to an adjacent sidewalk. We don't want a free-floating island that no one can access. We want to connect it to the fabric of Chinatown. The logical place to do that while accommodating those primary vehicular flows is on the north side. And that really fits with all of our design principles that we use at a citywide level for all of our projects when we're designing streets and public spaces. We look to create standard 4-way intersections, and they are safer and more predictable for pedestrians. They're also function more smoothly for vehicles. We try to create straight through travel movements wherever possible. They're more efficient than turning movements. We look to shorten crosswalks and reduce exposure, and we try to create crossings that are more accessible to cross for pedestrians, specifically seniors and children. We look to space intersections sufficiently to reduce congestion and queuing between those intersections. And we want to create a larger consolidated open space that's more flexible and can better meet a variety of needs rather than a lot of small little spaces. So as part of this concept, we looked at realigning the movements. With this concept proposal, only 1/3 of the movements would be turns under this, which fulfills the goal of simplifying the travel patterns and creating a more typical and predictable intersection. Go to the next slide. And getting back to that idea of wanting to center pedestrians, currently the square is almost 2/3 roadway. And I would say even with that huge amount of roadway, it does not function well for vehicles. So we really want to reprioritize the space and better organize it to center pedestrians and give approximately half or a little over half of the square to the predominant roadway user, which is people walking. And then another big part of this concept is reducing crosswalk distances. Shorter crosswalks are safer for people with mobility issues or with small children. This type of proposal would shorten crossing distances in almost all locations throughout the project area. Now I'll pass it back to Marvel.
Hey everyone, so as Danielle introduced me, I'm Ishita Gaur. I'm a director at Marvel, focused on urban design and planning, and have been co-leading the engagement so far. This is just to preface that our engagement really asked about the quality of public spaces. It talked about the opportunities this the realignment provides, as Casey walked through, and how there are real constraints that exist over here, but also there are real opportunities for improving just pedestrian experiences, places for people to pause and sit and eat, but also streamline some of the noise and movement of large events through this plaza. And so a recap of the community engagement so far. A lot of you have hopefully seen us around, but through March and June, we did a huge spurt of community engagement with, as I mentioned, an overarching goal of trying to understand the community. The people who live here are really the people who know best, and what we wanted to do was understand the existing conditions and what people think about the current spaces and how they envision good quality public space. We were not asking specific design questions. We haven't gotten to those yet. And we will continue this engagement. So when I say June, we have continued that process into today as well. And so out of the 19 engagement events, we did walkthroughs with community stakeholders, including CB1, CB3. We had public meetings that was earlier in the spring. We had pop-up events where we actually were stationed, including outside of Confucius Plaza, at Kimlau Square, in Columbus Park, at the supermarket. We also did tabling or focused engagement with schools because we are designing for the future of future users as much as we are for current users, and it's really interesting how the overall goals for public, all age groups, is really similar. We did 4 tabling events which were partnered with existing engagement that people were already showing up to. So Family Day at NYCHA and at Smith Houses. We did partnered with Gotham Park to do tabling at their event, and many more. And then we also engaged in senior centers, including doing Mandarin and Cantonese only engagement to ensure that the seniors were also able to learn about this project and express how they currently feel and would like to envision using the space. We also had an online survey which had a open reach, but we noticed that there was a good mix of local community residents who did participate in that as well. As we started compiling the takeaways, we were able to find out that there were 700 plus people who were able to engage with us through written comments, through votes on specific quality of design elements. And what I mean by quality is like, do you prefer shade? Do you want seating, more seating, less seating, that kind of questions, including, and then survey responses. And so what we've seen is that people got really creative on the kind of activities that they wanted to envision in a future public square. They wanted to, have moments of pause, moments of respite, but also a moment of like what this could be in the potential event. So what we learned from this was really that, currently the plaza functions very much as a through plaza, and this intersection is very much people have to pass through, don't like to pass through. So what can we do to design something that not only is a through intersection, but a to destination? I think this is fine. I think the main kind of highlights that came from the existing conditions was that design and landscape of this future public space is going to be really important. How we create a safe circulation and connectivity pattern will be important. And then ensuring that whatever happens here is focused on celebrating the art and preserving the culture of this through programming is going to be important. I think just to leave time, I'm going to skip through these, but safety and connectivity and priorities were pedestrian and crosswalk safety, roadway design, and how that would ensure safe car movement, bus movement, bike movement is going to be important. And then we arrived at these community visions, which as we saw the themes emerge from that kind of existing conditions analysis, what we really learned was the community wants a place to gather that is shaded, that's green, that's comfortable, and want to make sure that they are able to have flexibility between having events or places to go to, but also to have a place where they can sit. The second vision was that it's safe and connected, so that the road design improves pedestrian safety and neighborhood connectivity, and minimizes friction at the key crossings. And then lastly, it celebrates and shares culture, a space that respects the that reflects the neighborhood's history and cultural context, and also the monuments that exist here, the memorial art, as well as the Gigi statue. And we are, as I mentioned, continuing, you can go to the next slide. We are continuing the community engagement effort throughout as we work through concept development phases. So we have been meeting with the Chinatown BIT this summer. We have had some key stakeholder engagements with the American Legion regarding the Chinatown, the Memorial Arch. We have met with the Fujianese associations and will continue to do that regarding the statue. And in addition to that, we've been out in the public at the Chinatown BIT Summer Refreshing Weekend. We're at the block party for Think Chinatown. We were at the Smith House's Family Day earlier in August, and we're continuing to do that. And so I'm going to hand it over to Jadiel.
All right, with both the information that Casey gave us at the beginning regarding traffic and improvements in the intersections, and the information that Ishita just shared about how we engage the community and the things that we learn about not just the intersection itself, but the quality of public space that the community wants or is looking for. We are summarizing the stage of where we are in the project in these sort of three buckets, right? So I'm going to start there because it relates to traffic, right? So reiterating what Casey said, straightening the primary movements in the intersection, the vehicular traffic pattern, preserving important monument like the Memorial Arch that exists in the square and keeping it in its current location, which started to sort of shape a little bit that public space. So those two start to determine where the public space is, and then in the center we have a place to gather, which is connected and creates a continuous flow from one side to the other, and so that's the space that you see highlighted in the center. And how do we create a prime, expanded, functional public space that serves as a gateway to this neighborhood, that invites people in and that connects people across this intersection? So the new public plaza will serve as a gateway, I was just saying, to Chinatown. It will expand and improve the public space, and will minimize conflicts between the different modes of movements by simplifying the movements in the intersection. So let's start with the cultural markers, right? So there are going to be three markers in this intersection that we're taking consideration. The first one is the Kimlau Memorial Arch, which is currently under reconstruction. So New York City Parks is currently working on the reconstruction of the memorial, the rehabilitation of the memorial itself in place. The second one is the Lindsay Shue statue, which we've been communicating and meeting with the Fujianese associations and leaders to place the sculpture within the intersection. And if you see here in yellow, those are two areas that have been identified as a potential area to relocate the Lindsay Shue statue, and the main focus is that the statue should be facing towards East Broadway. So that's a big consideration. The third one is the welcome gateway and art. So we went with EDC and DCLA Department of Cultural Affairs through artist selection process that invited the community into evaluating different applications for this art piece. And towards the end of the process, Jennifer Wenma was selected as the artist for this gateway piece, and we will be working together with her as a team to select a location and conceptualize what this piece is going to be within the square. To move into what the quality of public space that we want to, what we all want and we all want to create here, we looked at a little bit of a comparison. So, this example here, it compares in size to the new Plaza space. This is Bayard Plaza, this is on Chambers Street. And this space has a central plaza space that's very flexible, but it's also framed by vegetation and sort of like screened by vegetation on the side. So it's something in the character of the square that we're trying to, that we sort of heard from the community that was desired. On the other end of the spectrum, we also looked at a plaza like this one. This is more of a piazza style. This is and both these plazas are part of the DOT Plaza program. So we are using them as examples. So this one is in a historic district, so it has different character, but it's paved, and the space is transformed and shaped by the movement of movable furniture. How you arrange the space is determined by how these pieces are moved. So with that in mind, maybe go right to the next one. We're looking into, we're bringing all this information that we gathered from our analysis, from the traffic information, from the community engagement, into creating a guideline, a framework for how we want this space to be transformed. We looked at the site history. In history, this has always been a space of intersection, of confluence, of convergence, and we see that through different stages or different iterations of this area. So we know that Kimlau Square, sits at the center of really important and really interconnected neighborhood, right? So how does the square relate to other open spaces in the neighborhood is important. How we bring all of this together, how we position Kimlau Square as a true gateway. And this one is hard to read, but in concept, thinking about the space again as a space of convergence that brings neighborhoods together. That historically has been how the city has grown into this intersection. And then a sense of meandering, and what we mean by that is that in the background, there's a picture there of when there used to be a brook or a creek that ran through this site, and there was I'm forgetting the word, the collect pond, exactly. But more important than the historic context is that sense of interconnection, that flow that could be the flow of people, or the flow of water, how it mimics the flow of people, and how this space was always a space that connected, even with nature. So, design principles, right? So, circulation and the pedestrian circulation, day-to-day circulation is important. And in the yellow lines, we're sort of highlighting what are main direct points of connections of interest, like where people cross and go towards. And then in blue, you see in the middle this sort of like idea of meandering. So there is this duality to the space. One that is like a space that connects, and a space for people to stay and pause and meander. The second thing that we're bringing in, that we're sort of in our meetings with the stakeholders, with like the American Legion and the Fujianese community and the Chinatown bid, the idea that, or the history of this space as a space that holds very important events around the memorial, around the Lindsay Shute statue during New Year, Lunar New Year, and the type of flow that happens in this area. So, primarily processions coming from Mott Street, stopping and pausing at Kimlau Square, and then continuing towards East Broadway. So highlighting that flow as an important flow. The three components that we need to take into consideration that are centered in how we would shape the space: the memorial, the gateway, and the Lindsay statue. Next. And how, what we heard from the community is that there are already some events that happen here, some of which hold a little bit of a larger crowd a couple times a year, some of which are smaller and medium-sized, and that the space needed to be flexible enough to accommodate all that diverse sort of desire to hold diverse kinds of events. So we're looking at that as a design principle for how we shape the space. The other one is the idea that we can now connect. We know that today Doyer Street is It's closed for pedestrians, so it's only dedicated to pedestrians, and it's part of the Plaza program as well. And there is a desired connection there from Mott Street all the way to Doyer Street that could reactivate the ground floor of these buildings that will now face the new plaza. And we also heard that in this space, kind of like in Bucardo's Plaza, there's a desire to protect people, to make people feel comfortable, to shield them from the traffic, to shield them from the noise on a day-to-day, that there are connections, but that you can sit in the plaza and feel safe, you can feel protected. So creating a zone that's a buffer that protects people from the traffic, it was an important component that we heard also. The plaza faces south, so it's going to get a lot of shade. Today is a very sunny, it's going to get a lot of sun, not shade. It's a very sunny space. So one of the important components that we identified from the community input is the desire for creating a space that's protected from the sun. That could be done through tree canopies or from movable furniture like umbrellas, like the one example that we show at Gaur Plaza. So at the end, we're sort of compiling this into what we're calling a conceptual framework. It is not yet a defined design, it's not a design yet, but it is a set of rules that we're setting up for the space based on all the input and all the constraints and all the things that we heard from stakeholders, right? So you have the protected buffer at the edge, you have in the center an active zone that could be a larger space or a smaller space. So this kind of ribbon contracts and expands depending on the type of activities that we want to hold in this space. We've heard from the Chinatown bit about many potential events, many that are already held in this space, many that are held in other parts of the neighborhood that would be great to hold here, and many other ones, right? So like there is a desire to use this space in many different ways, and that's what that zone there is for. And then the spillover space, that is a space to activate the sort of connection between Doyer Street and Mott Street. You see that yellow is kind of like this connective tissue. That's what we mean by the meander. It's a space that really brings people through the space. And it's hard to read in this in the projection, but there's the crosswalks and shortened crosswalks at all the intersections. This is what the scheme kind of provides, right? So that's, maybe go back, just keep it there for a second. This is where we are right now. We are in the early stages of the project. We are in conceptual design, which means that we are gathering the big ideas and putting them together in an order that will help us all together shape the design of the space, shape the design of the public realm, position the new gateway art piece, reposition the Lindsay statue, and create a space that you can all use in many different ways, right? So with that, the next steps will be to continue to think about these ideas, to continue to gather input from the community, to then start to think about what the character of the space is, how to fine tune, or how do we shape, right, with your input, the desired spaces that we want to create here. You want to go to the next slide? So the last slide is just to wrap up, is a timeline of where we are. Again, we are in concept design, and we're coming to you today to share where we are with that. And then there is other engagements that will happen along the way, and we will then enter into the current process, which is going through schematic design, preliminary design, and so on. But that's later on in the process. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And again, I'm Vinny Cerrito. I'm the chair of the Transportation Committee for Community Board 3. Again, welcome for being here tonight. We do have a lot of speakers tonight, so we're just going to limit the speakers to 2 minutes. We're going to be timing that. Again, if you're going to make comments, just try to make your comments to 2 minutes. And Michelle here is going to help me. Yeah. We're going to keep you to 2 minutes. If we're going to put your hand up, like Michelle will put her hand up when you have like 10 seconds left, we're going to interrupt you if you're at 2 minutes. So I don't, just time yourself. I hate interrupting people when they're speaking, so please just be mindful of your time. Before I get into calling names up to speak, we actually do have a microphone, so let me actually use that too as well. We'll ask you to use this microphone so everyone can hear. You all can hear me now. So before I get into that, I just kind of wanted to go through just a little bit of history here of how we got here tonight in September. This is probably started, I want to say, about a year ago with the Chinatown Connections projects that EDC sponsored, where there was a lot of hosts of groups that came to meetings. They were giving lots of updates. This community board has been updated. I want to say this is the third time of being updated of what is happening, what is EDC looking at. There was a lot of discussion in the springtime of what would happen with Park Row. I'm sure you all remember those discussions. We had that here at this community board as well. At that point, we were told by the mayor's office that Park Row would remain closed, as it has been decided by the past 3 administrations, and they are keeping with as it is today. So buses, emergency vehicles, and those types of things, and bikes allowed on Park Row, but no personal vehicles. That decision was made by the mayor. At that point, that is when EDC then started doing a lot of their work. DOT came here, gave a presentation on some traffic studies and those types of things. Tonight is the first time I think we're seeing, obviously, a street design. So I think that's where we are. So with that, let's have the speakers come on up. And I apologize in advance if I'm mispronouncing your name, so just bear with me here. I'm having a hard time reading the first time, but it ends with Chin. This is a Caligay organization.
Should I speak from here?
If you could use a microphone, I'm sorry. I apologize for making you stand up in front of everyone.
That's okay. Thank you. It's great to see so many people over here because this is a key part of our community. And one of the big concerns we have is that a lot of people have looked at this, seen it 17 years ago. It's been a long time. And it was wrong then, and it's still wrong now. So I don't know what everybody's been doing around here in the last 17 years, but we certainly think that that's a big waste of time. It's a site that you're going to change. If you want to change it this way, you're going to be killing Bowery. You're going to stop having a lot of the cars, the traffic that you need to sustain this community. This community is suffering enough. How do you think our businesses are going to get their deliveries? How are we going to get our people to come into the spaces? This is just not a very good design. There are alternatives. People should be looking at that, and I see that there's an alternative that continues to keep important arteries. Transportation is about arteries. You have to have circulation. If you don't have circulation, guess what? The body dies. And so the main circulation channels over here is East Broadway, it's Bowery, and if you're going to go and clog those up, what are you doing to our community? And listen to these people. You could go back, fix the Kimlau Arch. We want that done. That's important. But stop having all of those other spaces and nonsense over 17 years. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And next is going to be Misi Wong, and Sean here is going to run around with a microphone. If you could raise your hand. Misi Wong.
Hi. About the flipping of this space from the original site to the Citibank site, I don't think it's necessary. Why do we need a huge plaza for our community? There is a big Golden Park down there, Park Road. If you have this big space, that will draw a lot of homeless and a lot of protesters. Okay, so I don't think it's necessary. You could have just fixed a regional plaza. Okay, if the foundation for the arch is not good due to water damage or whatever, with the $50 million, I'm sure the city can fix that, or at least move on the other side within the plaza to coexist with the Lean statue. And also the East Broadway once was open before, many years ago, before the DOC make another change, was close to, right next to Go-Go Dim Sum and a diner. So the traffic from East Broadway can come through. But after DOC closed it, it caused a lot of inconvenience for the cars from East Broadway. So why don't they just remove it? By doing this, you're going to have all the different cars, road, buses, cars coming from East Broadway, Division Street, Bowery, Mud Street, St. James, and Wall Street, all merging together. And Park Road was closed. If Park Road was open, it's different. So it makes it very difficult for the people and a lot of congestion. So I hope you guys could consider it. We live here, we need to be safe. You guys don't live here. We are the ones who have to suffer the consequence if the plan is not properly in concern with the resident. Thank you.
Gigi Chen.
Hi, I'm glad to see that there's an early you mentioned an early conceptual design. But I was so shocked last week to go to a CB1 meeting and learn that there was a resolution to pass the plan before the community was even engaged. And this is really a big outreach that we've done here. But despite more than a year of requests, there have been no alternative traffic plans ever offered. The so-called public engagement process was limited to cosmetic choices, the gateway arch, landscaping, and surface details, but never the traffic design that is at the heart of this issue. We were alarmed to see that the proposed redesign includes moving the plaza to the opposite side of the Bowery. It curves the Bowery dramatically between Mott and Doyer. It eliminates street parking on the Bowery with only one traffic lane each way, and this will create years of disruptive construction. It will harm access for residents, businesses, diners, shoppers, and tourists. I was part of that 208, part of the previous 1999 reconstruction. It lasted about 3 to 5 years, and we were in rubble for all that time. I will not forget it. I don't want to bring all that rubble back home to my front door as we did in the past. This may force buses to go to Madison Street, which is what the city did after 9/11. They removed the bus routes because they said, it was not a good place for it. And because of the twists and turns this new road will create, then I don't want to miss seeing the buses coming down to the major part of Chinatown. It will create traffic bottlenecks on the Bowery and on the feeder streets.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I just want to have, and I appreciate you talking. Gigi, I just want to have you just talk about CB1.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. Good to see you again. I just want to clarify some factual information here. First one, this is still in conceptual design. So for those of you who are not familiar, conceptual design is less than 10%. This is not final. We are in the first 6 months of this process. I think you saw at the very end. This is a multi-year process. So I just want everyone to understand and be clear, there is no final design. This is us coming to you to get your feedback, which you are providing us. And this is the back and forth that this community has asked for, and that EDC and DOT has prioritized, which was a criticism that not enough of it was done in advance 15 or 20 years ago. Secondly, Community Board 1 was informational, so there was no resolution. Thirdly, the concerns that you listed on your flyer, Jeannie, we addressed some of those and revised the deck for today, which I hope you will acknowledge and recognize. Yes. Second, also, if I can continue, we agree with the concerns that you raised on your flyer. We don't have answers for those questions yet. We understand the importance of the bus route. That is something we are going to work with DOT and MTA on. We understand that there are traffic concerns and delivery concerns. We also made it very clear in today's deck that this potential design is supposed to address a multitude of issues. It is not a car-centric approach. It is a pedestrian-focused public realm project. So again, thank you for coming and continuing to engage with us, and we will continue to engage with you. I think in the priorities and framework deck in the beginning, we addressed some of the priorities which are in conflict with your proposed design. Also, several of you have asked me, this deck will be publicly available within 24 hours. Every single presentation we do, whether it is to the Chinatown Connections Working Group, to a community board, are all posted on chinatownconnections.nyc, so you can download all of our documents and all of our public materials from that website. Thank you.
Can I respond to you?
I'm sorry, if we're gonna go back and forth, then I gotta limit to other people to like 1 minute, and which I don't wanna do. I wanna have everyone be able to speak.
At the end, will we have time to answer questions?
I'll look at the time, and we'll see. If I can set it wrong. So I just also want to just say too, is that there's no intention of Community Board 3 making any resolution here tonight too as well. This is the first time we're seeing this, as you are as well. So just to make that very clear, there's no intention of doing a resolution. We're all in this together. So let's continue. So we have Dr. Thomas Chen.
Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas Chen. I've been in Chinatown for the last 35 years. But anyway, the first thing I want to say is it's upsetting that we've learned that Park Road will not be open against our wishes, because that's what we all want, Park Road to be open to our Chinatown business. So this first thing I'm very upset. Second, if Park Road is not open, and then we talking about putting a Chinatown welcome arch there in the Kimlau Square, I don't know who are we welcoming. We welcoming who? There's a dead end on the other side. Okay, and also we're talking about are there enough space for a circular intersection? Actually, that's the best for the traffic to move and every car coming into the circular drive. Circular will slow down. And second, talking about current traffic flow, it's more like it's a semi-circle. Actually, as the eastbound coming out, the car will slow down, and from the St. James Place go around the Oliver Street, the car will slow down. So I don't see any problem with the current traffic flow there. And second, if Kimlau Square flip it to the other side of the Bowery, that means all the residents in Confucius Plaza or Madison Street or East Broadway, Henry Street, they have to cross over to the Bowery. Really unsafe for the residents to use the Kimlau Square. Actually, who's going to use the Kimlau Square? Not me, all the residents around the area. Where the residents coming from? Confucius Plaza, Henry Street, Kimlau Square, all the Madison Square Garden, Madison Street, Henry Street, East Broadway. And they want to cross over to Bowery. There's a big street to cross over. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Triple Edwards. Folks, we gotta keep going. Triple Edwards, thank you.